wipe out malaria completely. One of the most successful DDT campaigns was carried out in India in 1952. At the beginning of the campaign, 75 million Indians a year suffered from malaria. By 1965, the spraying of DDT had reduced the number of cases to 1,000. However, as with the malaria germ and preventive drugs, there is evidence that mosquitoes are developing resistance to DDT. One of the reasons for this has been the initial success of the operations. People became careless, also owing to increasing the price of fuel. Poorer countries found it impossible to maintain the eradication program. The situation now is that malaria is taking a comeback and there are new breeds of mosquitoes which are resistant to DDT. So we see that there are various methods of fighting malaria. They involve preventing mosquitoes from breeding, preventing mosquitoes from having the opportunity to bite people, using protective drugs and using insecticides. Dangerous new developments so that some malaria germs are developing a resistance to modern drugs. The mosquitoes themselves are becoming resistant to insecticides. Other skimming techniques: quickly skim through any subtitles in the text. Read text subjectively. Pay particular attention to the way the paragraphs begin and end. There is the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Look out for helpful diagrams that summarize what the writer is saying. The text which follows relates to an article by Divide by David Crystal. I want you to get a general idea of what the author has to say, using where appropriate the techniques we have been discussing in these units. The title of the article is A Linguistic Revolution: Language and the Internet. Begin by thinking about the title. What sort of topics do you think the writer will be dealing with? Skim through the article, then answer this question: what are the main points that the writer is making about language and the internet? You should come up with a list too. Careful reading. Now read the article straight through at your normal reading speed, not forgetting to time yourself. When you have read the passage through, see if you can give a more complete answer to question 2 above. Your answer should be in the form of summary of between 100 to 200 words long. If you are with a group, compare your summaries. Linguistic Revolution: Language and the Internet. David Crystal. Linguistics cannot help but the impression by the Internet. It is an extraordinarily diverse medium, holding a mirror up to many sides of our linguistic nature. The World Wide Web, in particular, offers a home to virtually all the styles that have so far developed in the English language: newspaper, scientific reports, bulletins, novels, poems, prayers, you name it, you'll find a page on it. Indeed, it is introducing us to styles of written expression which none of us have ever seen before. It has often been said the Internet is a revolution, yes indeed, but it is also a linguistic revolution. The Internet is not a single thing. It consists of several domains: emails, the World Wide Web, chat rooms, those which exist in a real time and those which do not, and the world of fantasy games. It offers us the possibilities of human communication which I think can genuinely be called revolutionary. In emails, what is revolutionary is not the way some of its users are cavalier about typing accuracy, permitting misspells, and avoiding capitalizations and punctuation. This is rather minor effect which rarely interferes with intelligibility. It is patiently a special style arising out of the pressure operating on users of the medium plus a natural desire, especially on younger minded users, to be idiosyncratic and daring. There is nothing truly revolutionary here. What is revolutionary about email is the way the medium permits what is called framing. You receive a message which contains, say, three different points in a single paragraph. You can, if you want, to reply to each of these points by taking the paragraph, splitting it up into three parts, then responding to each part separately so that the message you send back then looks a bit like a play dialogue. Then your sender can do the same thing to your responses, and when you get the message back, you see his replies to your replies. You can then send the lot on to someone else for further comments, and when it comes back, there are now three voices framed in the screen, and so it can go on. Replies within replies within replies, all unified within the same screen typography. There's never been anything like this in the history of human written communication. The pages of the web offer a different kind of revolutionary development. The one thing we can say about traditional writing is that it is permanent. You open a book at page 6, close the book, then open it at page 6 again. Expect to see the same thing. You would be more than a little surprised if the page had changed in the interim. But this kind of impermanence is perfectly normal on the web, where indeed you can see the page changing in front of your eyes. Words appear and disappear in varying colors. Sentences slide onto the screen and off again. Letters dance before your eyes. The web is truly part of a new animated linguistic channel, more dynamic than a traditional writing and more permanent than traditional speech. It is neither speech nor writing. It is a new medium. Real-time internet discussion programs, chat rooms also offer a revolutionary sets of possibilities you see on your screen. Messages coming in front of all the world. If there are 30 people in the room, then you could be seeing 30 different messages, all making various contributions to them, but often clustering into half a dozen or more sub-conversation. It has never been possible for in the history of human communication to listen to 30 people at once. Now you can. Moreover, you can respond to as many of them as your mental powers and typing speed permit. This too is a revolutionary state of affairs as far as speech is concerned. But there is a further reason for the revolutionary status of the internet, the fact that it is offered a home to along all languages. Students through communication have a functioning computer technology. Its increasingly multilingual character has been the most notable change since it started out not very long ago as a totally English medium. By the mid 1990s, a widely quoted figure was that about 80% of the internet was in English. Since then, estimates for English have been steadily falling. Some commentators are now predicting that before long the web and the internet as a whole will be predominantly non-English as communication infrastructure develops in Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America. A recent global reach survey estimated that people internet access in non-English speaking countries increased between 1995 and 2000 from 7 million to 136 million. In 1998 there was another surprise. The number of newly created websites not in English plus the total for newly created websites that were in English In certain countries, the local language is already dominant. According to one Japanese internet author, Yoshi Mikami, 90% of web pages in Japan are already in Japanese. My feeling is that the future looks good for web multilingualism. The web offers a worldwide welcome for global linguistic diversity. Adapted from David Crystal, 2001, Language and the Internet, Cambridge University Press. This is a shortened version of an article which first appeared in the Satful Newsletter 21 by 2 Winter 2007. Scanning and searching. To remind yourself of the various approaches to reading a text, you may find it helpful to have another look at Figure 1.1 and study the tips below and apply them to Task 7. When you are scanning, you are usually looking for a particular word or phrase which you believe already existed or may exist in the text. Sometimes, if you are lucky, the keywords you are looking for are signally in some way, for example, by being written in italics or in bold. When you are searching a text for a particular form of information, you may not have specific words or phrases to help you. However, you may, as we have seen, sometimes get help from the index or from the list of contents. Scanning and searching. Scan and search is three entries taken from the Cambridge Encyclopedia in order to answer the questions that follow. Remember, you don't have to read the whole entry. Acupuncture. Acupuncture, Malacca's needle, plus puncture and piercing, a medical practice known as China for over 3,000 years, which has come to attract attention in the West, consists of the insertion into the skin and underlying tissues of fine needles, usually made of steel, and of varying lengths according to the depth of the target point. The site of insertion of each needle is selected according to the point and meridians related to the tissue or organ believed to be disordered, and several hundreds specific points have been identified. Areas which are painful on pressing may also be selected. Trigger point acupuncture. Studies are now in progress to establish which disorder benefits from acupuncture, but neuralgia, migraine, sprains, asthma are claimed to respond, while infections, diseases, and tumors are unlikely to do so. It is also employed as an analgesic during surgery in the forest poor where skills in local or general anesthetics are often not easily available. Today, acupuncture is used widely among the general population in China. Equipments can be purchased in shop and used in the way simple painkillers are employed in the West. The efficiency of the method is now being subjected to statistically controlled trials, but accounts of successes remains anecdotal. Its mechanism is action is also unknown in the terms of Chinese philosophy. It is believed to restore the balance of the contrasting principles of yin and yang and the flow of qi. A hypothetical channel of the body meridians research has shown the brain tissue contains morphine-like substance called endorphins, which may be released in increasing amounts when deep sensory nerves are stimulated by injury near the body's surface. A possible mode of action thereof is that these substances are released by acupuncture and some degree of tranquility and analgesia is induced. Alternative medicines, auricular therapy, moxibustion, tradition, Chinese medicine, yin and yang. Scanning water endorphins. Scanning whereas